Hey guys, Ori here again, back with another video. As the time that I'm recording this, it is currently Free House's third anniversary. So, game came out, I think, it was the 27th or 26th. I don't have my clock near me and I have my background set like this so that I can talk about the game because I just didn't have a capture card to show you gameplay. I should be fixing that soon, I've got one ordered. Who knows when it'll get to me with COVID, but I just thought that I would talk about the game for a bit. And by the way, this video will be coming out after the release date, sorry. Universities, I've got a heap of assignments due later today. Not later today, later this week, so I probably won't be able to get this out till a bit later. So, how do I think Free Houses has stood up over these last 3 years, especially with the release of Free Hopes being earlier? It came out about a month ago, right? So, how has Free Houses stood up against Time, the other Fire Emblem games in the series, and just generally in gaming? So, first thing, the easiest to point out is that it was the best-selling Fire Emblem game, right? Out of all Fire Emblem games, this has sold the most copies, especially outside of Japan. And while I do think this is cold as hell. Fire Emblem Awakening saved the series, but Free Houses I think has helped to reinvigorate the series, especially outside of the Japanese audience. This game means a lot to a heap of different people. I've been on Discord in Fire Emblem servers, and a heap of people were saying that Free Houses was their first or their favorite Fire Emblem game. And this isn't even just among the new people who started with Free Houses. I've seen people who've been playing since Fire Emblem 7 came out and they're saying Free Houses was the best. Or people are putting Free Houses in their top 3 and they've been playing since Fire Emblem 4. Which is an impressive feat. And I think it's something that Free Houses has to attribute to that is its great characterization and its overall gameplay. Now, I don't know if this has the best Fire Emblem gameplay. I don't know. I haven't played all the games in the series. I've played most of the recent ones. Echoes, Fates, Free Houses Awakening. I've played 5, 6, 7. I've played Radiant Dawn, Path of Radiance, and I played 1. So I played a couple. I'm getting through the rest of the series at a pace. Just, I don't have a heap of time to play video games when I'm at uni. So, but I'm meant to be getting in my first lot of assignments in the next 2 weeks. So I'll have a bit more time, and hopefully then I'll get my capture card so I can actually do stuff. But until then, you'll just have to deal with stuff like this. And I'll be doing other games like FTL, and I might do some Call of Duty or some stuff. Who knows, when I get editing software. So, with Free Houses, like I've said, the main thing with this game was the first, really the first game to add a heap of customization to the game. Any character can use almost any weapon and any class. Almost as some gender lock classes that I don't like Pegasus Knight, Dark Mage, Vulcan Knight, stuff like that. I just think that's stupid. And they should get rid of gender lock classes as a whole in Fire Emblem. Now with the freedom of classes, there comes a couple main things. I think there's 2 main things. One, any character can do anything, so you can find something that's interesting or a niche for them, or make every character good, put them in a good class. Every character can be good in Sniper because Hunter's Volley, right? And almost anyone can get every skill. You can get some interesting skill sets on some people. Some people still have exclusive skills, like Dimitri has Battalion Ref, Battalion Vantage, and he's the only one who gets that combination in the game. But every character can get hit plus 20, Death Blow, Fiendish Blow, which are just some great skills that everyone can get, and you can get them relatively early in the game. You only need to get the level 10 to start being able to unlock those classes that give you those skills. If you want to know like what classes do what and what skills you get, you can go check out my other two videos. I've done one on abilities and I've done one on classes and characters. And the second thing that comes with free customization of all classes is that some people, like some units, lose their exclusivity or their like niche roles that they were fulfilling, right? So in like past games, if you wanted an archer in your squad, you had to choose one of the archers that were given to you. In this, which means that they feel like a niche. In this game, you can grab any old character and put them into archer, therefore your role is filled, right? So you don't have to like, so like there's a heap of like, I've ranked characters based on how good they were, but like I use Felix as an example, who's like, you know, considered to be like an A tier character, right, or A plus. Felix, if you want him to fill your archer slot, you can, right? And he'll do really good in an archer slot. But that also means that a lesser character that isn't as good, like Ash, doesn't need to be used because you can just get someone else to fill his slot that's better than him. I'm not saying that I'm just gonna like not use Ash. I typically try to use the characters within a house, you know, to keep the gameplay interesting and story relevance and stuff, and make Hunting by Daybreak more bearable. But yeah, you lose that like need to use maybe slightly lesser characters, and you may as well just build your like entire class around like the best of the best characters. And since you can recruit out of house and they won't have as much of an impact on the story outside their own house, then you lose like interest in a character that's going to be like at least involved in the story, and you also like lose, well, at least for Hunting by Daybreak, you lose a character that's mandatory, and you know you lose plot elements. But that's like the two main things with classes. The main thing that I attribute Fire Emblem Three Houses to doing right, which is why I think it is one of the best. Well, I personally consider it the best Fire Emblem game. That's like the coldest take, but I think that is true. Is the characterization of the multitude of characters they have. And there's like a heap of characters in this game, and I only think that a very like select few are done in a bad way. And even some of the people that were done bad were corrected or made better in Free Hopes. This isn't a video about Free Hopes though. Maybe I'll make a review on it later, or maybe when I get a capture card I'll do it. So, Free Houses characterization. I'll talk about a couple of like select characters that I'll do. I'm not going to get into opinions on if Edelgard or Rhea or Claude or Dimitri are right. I'm not going to talk about any of that. I'm just going to like talk of them as characters and just like show why like people get interested in this game for the characters and not just the gameplay. And I've like I said, the gameplay of this game is like every other Fire Emblem game, right? You play a big old board and you move your pieces around. And yes, I did just say Fire Emblem is basically chess. I'm going to get bullied for that. But yeah, so the characterization of people. So we get like a heap of different characters. Almost no two people have the same like, exact same personality. You have some people like exhibit similar interests, like Henneman and Linhardt are both interested in crests. Dimitri and Felix are both interested in weapons and fighting. Stuff like that, right? Ferdinand and Lawrence are both interested in being nobles. It's similar traits, but completely different characters, right? So I'm not the best person to ask about Edelgard. I haven't played Crimson Flower or Scarlet Blaze a lot, so I'm not very good on her characterization as much as some other people that I might know. But like, she's one of the favorite lords, right? And I'm not going to say that's because she's a girl or anything like that, right? It's just because she has some good characterization. She has a clear and defined goal. She has mainly good reasoning behind it. She has a empathetic story, and she doesn't let her past overshadow her entire character, right? The only real problem I have with Edelgard is in Free Houses is the Byleth reliance that she has, and I don't think that's exclusive to me. I've talked most people I know play this game say that. So yeah, but apart from that, she's a great character, and that's why I prefer her in Hopes because she doesn't have that reliance on someone. Unless you call Shaz a reliance, but it's not as much as or as weird as Byleth was. Dimitri is someone that I can talk a lot more about. I've played a lot more Azure Gleam and um, Azure Moon than I have. And I throughout the most I've played is Claude's route, but after that would be Dimitri. So Dimitri as a character, when you first look at him, you think he's just going to be like a typical good boy lord. He's just like a good, nice old person. He's a bit dark, not dumb. He's not like the smartest person. He's rash in his decisions and for himself to the battle for his friends, right? But the longer you play the game, the more you realize that that's very much not Dimitri. Dimitri is a person controlled by his past, hell-bent on avenging his fallen comrades, family, and friends, right? His whole personality and objectives are based on the tragedy of Dusker, where he unfortunately lost all of his family and friends. And he has, I believe, a distorted view on it. If you want to know better about Dimitri, I can think of two really good videos. One is by Fargus called the Dimitri documentary. That is one of the best videos you can find that goes over Dimitri. And there's another one, but I can't remember. But it's something to do with his psyche. But that one by Fargus is a really good video if you want to understand Dimitri or Edelgard more. He has one on both of them. And so yeah, but he gets crazed by this obsession to get revenge, and then eventually he comes back to reality, right? He can't change what happened that day, and that he has to move on with life. And I prefer how it goes. I'm not going to say which actually that would cause controversy, but I like how it goes either way depending on which game you play. It's more solved or absolute in Azure Moon, where it's more left ambiguous in Azure Gleam. But I think there's a middle ground to be found between the two, where I think Azure Moon is too optimistic, but I think Azure Gleam doesn't work enough on helping Dimitri, right? Unless you take his supports, which are optional, right? You don't have to watch or do supports. So I think it should have been more of a centralized part of the story, which is the thing with Free Hopes. A heap of the endings are a bit weird, and I think some people attribute that to it being rushed or trying to not subverse Free Houses, or just trying to not make Byleth look like a bad protagonist. There's heaps of reasons why you could say that they seem a bit weird, but typically there's a good middle ground in between the two. I think Free Houses tries to rush his development too fast, and I think Azure Gleam doesn't focus on it enough as a frontal point. But one thing that I can say is that Felix's Felix's support chain with Dimitri is a lot better in Free Hopes, and you should watch Felix's and Dimitri's support chain in Free Hopes, right? Okay, so Claude is weird. His key personality traits are shared amongst the two games, but it's a weird going into Free Hopes. Because since they've never been to the Officers Academy, he isn't as interested in relics and crests. But there's a heap of minor tweaks that they do to his character, and I think that might just be because like a couple of things that happened in that route, and also attributing it to not being to the Officers Academy and not having as much time to mature as like an adult, right? He makes some questionable choices in his route and Free Hopes, but then in Free Houses he isn't involved enough in the story, and the story's more just like Azure Gleam but without the sentimentality of the leader. Claude's like a really weird character to talk about because of just how many dimensions his character has. He's a schemer, he's crafty, he's smart, he relies on his friends sometimes he doesn't. He likes leaving surprises for people. It's just really weird to establish a specific point to talk about. I could make a whole video on each of these three lords. And specifically Claude because I know the most about him. But since I do, it's the weirdest to talk about him. So I'm just going to leave it at that. And I'll talk about a couple of the other characters because they aren't as controversial or complex. Well, some characters are. So yeah, some characters aren't as complex or weird to talk about as the lords. So let's just think of a random character like Raphael. He's the first man to come to my mind. So Raphael, I probably this will be like the last characterization thing I bring up. Is like a typical he just seems like a big muscle man that likes eating meat. Like that is what he comes off as. Big man likes getting ripped, training, and eating, right? Those are like his big things, and specifically eating meat. But the more you look into it, the more his backstory starts to flesh out, especially with him and Ignatz, where his family were merchants, right? But his parents got killed in an accident. Accident, with air quotes. And he gets over that, right? And he's able to move on with his life. Same thing with his little sister. But since he can't take over his family's merchant business, he ends up selling off like most of the stuff for it and going to Garrick Mark to be trained as a knight, where he meets up with a childhood friend, Ignatz. And Ignatz and him have a complex-ish relationship with what happened with Ferdinand, Raphael's parents. And it's nice to see that. But in essence, Raphael just stays true to those main character points. He just comes off as a big man, likes training, likes meat, and that is most of his personalization. Which is fine. You don't need to have like massively over the top complex characters 100% of the time. Sometimes these sometimes these more like quiet, like lesser, more basic characters are needed to help, de-escalate situations and just make them easier to understand or have some characters that are more easy to relate to. And that is why I think Three Houses is recognized as one of the best Fire Emblem games in the series. I haven't talked about Byleth. Byleth's a controversial talk, right? Because most people don't like the Silent MC, like Avatar character. That's why a lot of people like Shez. I don't have any strong opinions on Byleth because, they're kind of a neutral palette, but they've also got some personality traits. It's weird. I think they should have just, took a solid approach with Byleth with them having a set personality and voice acting and stuff, full lines, and that would have been better. But I'm not the developer. Hey, go ahead. And then Shaz, which is a voiced set MC, I prefer more. I don't like Shaz's personality, but I like his that he's more of a character, right? Just because I like that he exists and he's a character that he's voiced and stuff, doesn't mean I like his character. I'm not a fan of that kind of protagonist. It's just me. But yeah, so Free Houses has been amazing over the last 3 years. I've put 1,300 hours into the game about. Multiple runs of normal, hard, maddening, mainly maddening since I learned how to play that. I started playing maddening about 2 years ago. So about a year after it released, I started playing maddening instead of normal and hard because I'd got the grasp on the game. Free Houses was my first Fire Emblem game, right? So a year of experience in this game, and I went into maddening, and I got destroyed my first attempt. It is nowhere near normal or hard, right? I was nowhere near ready. But I went and tried again, and I kept trying, and then my first attempt, I made it through with a heap of out-of-house recruits that I used. So I was mainly focusing on using good characters, to help me get through. And I've learned that the Iron Bow Plus is the best weapon in the game. And I just, from there, kept working my way up, and now I can do maddening mode with magic only. That was my last run that I've done. Maybe I'll do a capture card and I'll actually film stuff like that. And editing software, when I get a capture card, I'll probably do that. And I've done maddening no outhouse recruits, maddening, but I used the quote unquote worst characters. Maddening, but I put everyone in wrong classes, stuff like that. So maybe I'll actually start uploading videos like that, and I'll upload Warriors, Free Hope stuff, and I'll do other stuff on my Switch, right? And in other games, since I'll get editing software. And yeah, I will probably do another FTL video or something after this, or maybe I'll do another Free Houses analysis, who knows. I'm filming this basically just after I did the Crestel Cruiser run, because I had a bit of time left in my day, so yeah. But yeah, I think Fire Emblem Free Houses is still a masterpiece of a game, and I'm going to continue to play it into the future. And hopefully we'll finally get something from the next Fire Emblem game at some point. That'd be nice. Alright. Well, I'll talk to you guys next time. Or out.